Hello, 22 Tony here, with another discussion on collecting vintage and antique ammo. Today I thought I'd take a few minutes and discuss the lowly .32 caliber handgun ammunition. I'm in general going to stay away from rifle ammo. .32 caliber rifle ammo is a discussion in itself. So today I thought we'd start with the original .32 short Smith Wesson rimfire and work our way all the way up to the .327 Federal Magnum. Well, as you can see, the .32 short was it's actually introduced by Smith Wesson in about 1860. It was originally designed for the Model 2 revolver. It fired an 80 grain projectile and was one of the real early cartridges. Again, prior to the Civil War, the rimfire cartridge was just being introduced. By 1868, Smith & Wesson saw a need for a little bit more powerful handgun cartridge, and they produced the .32 Long Rimfire. Now this fired a 90 grain projectile, and both of them fired just under 1,000 feet per second. So for a handgun ammunition at the time, it really wasn't a bad cartridge. But obviously there were improvements made over the years. Well, about 1871, Remington decided to get in the field here with the .32 rimfire, and they introduced a .32 extra short. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those here today to show you. But all three of the original .32 rimfire cartridges, the short, the long, and the extra short, were considered to be good small game loads at the time. Now, the .32 rimfires were pretty much obsolete by the 1930s. With the introduction of the high-velocity .22, that became an excellent small game load, and the .32s kind of lost favorability. But we still have a long way to go till we get there. Now, about early 1870s, Webley in England produced the first that I'm aware of centerfire .32 cartridge, handgun cartridge. They called it the 320 Bulldog. And again, I don't have one of those here to show you today. But it was followed very shortly by about 1873. Colt had took the 320 Bulldog and adapted it to what we know as the .32 Colt or the .32 Long Colt. Well, in 1878, Smith & Wesson got involved and with the centerfire, and they introduced the .32 Smith & Wesson. So this is the 1878 .32 Smith & Wesson, the centerfire version of the original .32 short. Okay, then Winchester came along about right around 1880 and introduced the .3220, or it's also known as the .32 WCF, or Winchester centerfire. Now, it was originally introduced as a rifle cartridge, and then a few years later there were some single-action revolvers designed for the .3220. Okay. Then in 1896, Smith & Wesson improved on their .32 Smith & Wesson centerfire with the .32 Smith & Wesson Long. And this was just an elongated .32 Smith & Wesson. This cartridge is also identical to the .32 Colt New Police. Well then, right around 1899, Browning came out with the .32 ACP, or the 7.65 Browning. Those were designed for blowback automatic pistols, so right before the turn of the last century those were introduced. Right around the same time, right around 1900, there were some more or less modifications of the .32 rimfire, so it hadn't gone away yet. Right around 1900, the .32 rimfire long rifle and the .32 rimfire extra long were introduced. Again, these were designed as small game loads. Again, they were more used for rifle than handgun, but there were some handguns made for those cartridges as well. Well, after about 1900, there wasn't a lot of change to the .32 cartridge until about 1984. 1984, Harrington and Richardson got together with Federal Cartridge Company to produce the 32 H R Magnum. It's a higher velocity than the 32 Smith Wesson long, and just a slightly larger cartridge, but it had flatter trajectory over the other 32 handgun ammo, and was considered superior, but really never really caught on very well. 2008 then was the final, I think, 32 cartridge probably produced for a handgun ever, I would guess, is the 32 Federal Magnum, or the 327 Federal Magnum. It was just an improvement on the 32 H R Magnum, and again, I don't have one of those here today to show you, but again, it was produced in 2008. It's never really caught on. There are handguns produced for it, but it's somewhat of a specialty item today. So those are the basic versions of the 32 cartridge, but then of course there are variations with, you know, pretty much all cartridges. We've got 32 rimfire shot, a 32 Smith & Wesson shot, and a 32, I believe this is a 32 Smith & Wesson long. It's not marked. The cartridge is a little bit shorter than a normal 32 Smith & Wesson long, but I think the wooden shot is the reason for that. So it's not marked, and I haven't been able to verify that, but again, I think this was designed for the 32 Smith & Wesson long. It's one of the early shot shells. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a brief history into the 32 caliber handgun ammo. There's a lot of information available on each of these cartridges. They have a very long history. The 32 Smith & Wesson and 32 Smith & Wesson long are still available today, even though those were, you know, originally introduced back in the 1870s. The 32 ACP, of course, is still, and 7.65 Browning, those, of course, are still widely used up until fairly recently. Police all through Europe were using the 32 ACP. So even though most of us consider this a hugely underpowered cartridge, for many years, it was a very favorable cartridge to have. So once again, I want to thank you for watching today's video. I hope you watch my other videos. If you like it, please tell your friends, share, and I hope to see you back next time. Thanks, and bye.